Hello and welcome to the 8th video in which we're going to talk about yet another digital stress factor, which is interruptions. This is the 8th video, part of a 12 series of videos where we address the most common digital stress factors that you can find in the workplace. As mentioned, today we're going to talk about interruptions, and interruptions are those events, those triggers that are redirecting the employee's attention from the task at hand to something completely different, or maybe not even completely, but something different than they were working with. There are so many interruptions that we face in the digital workplaces today. We're being interrupted by our peers that want to communicate with us while we're at the computer and working. We might be interrupted by a sudden email, we might be interrupted by a phone call, by an SMS, by a chat, instant messaging chat, and so on. Every time we're being interrupted, it takes us a lot, and it takes your employees a lot of time to come back to the task at hand. Not only that, they are dislocating the time from their core task or whatever they had going on to the new event that requested their attention. So it's the time that they spend on solving that issue, but it's going to take them maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, up to 20 minutes to come back to the task that they had before, or to stop thinking about what interrupted them and to be able to fully focus on the task at hand. A lot of employees are complaining about interruptions, and a lot of them, what they're doing is that instead of finding collective measures, instead of organizations finding collective measures that can help everyone with that issue, what your employees might be doing is to devise their own methods of dealing with interruptions. Some might say, you know what, I'm just going to work from home 1 or 2 days or 3 days a week, because when I'm in the office, I'm constantly interrupted and I cannot focus on what I want to get done. So what you can do instead as an organization is to talk to your employees and create strategies that you can together adhere to. For example, you might have time frames. Let's say every day from 10 to 12, you allow your employees to engage in deep work, or the first part of the day when a lot of employees might feel most energetic, you want to allow them to focus their attention to be undisturbed. But for example, if you are a customer service facing department, another thing that you could be doing is to say during lunchtime is when the least number of customers are calling in because they themselves have a lunch break. Maybe that is the time when you want to allow your customer service facing employees to focus in deep work. Or you might want to say 5 of you are dealing with a customer service right now, and 2 of you might engage in deep work on Mondays. On Tuesdays, we are shifting. So I'm not here necessarily to tell you what is it that might work best in your organization, but my best bet is to ask your employees, have a meeting, call everyone in a meeting and say, hey, interruptions are a big part of our day. How can we solve this? And ask for their opinion. Usually they are very resourceful and they are the experts in their work pace, their work day, the amount of interruptions and whatnot. There are 2 facets when it comes to interruptions. One is that it costs our attention in the short term, but second is that it shapes our attention in the long term as well, because at some point we are no longer interrupted by external factors, we self-interrupt. I see a lot of employees that can no longer hold their focus, so instead what they do is that their shift between their search engine tabs, their browser tabs. So instead of focusing on their deep work task, they might go and check their Facebook, they might go and check their LinkedIn, they might go and check the news and so on. So because we have created this culture of interruption, we no longer have the capacity to focus on things. Recently, or not very recently, some years ago, I saw a company in Denmark. IIH Nordic is a media agency company that went from 5 days work week to a 4 days work week. And one of the strategies that they have applied was Pomodoro techniques. Many of you are familiar with Pomodoro techniques, but for those of you who are not, Pomodoro is the Italian name for a type of tomato. So why is that important? Well, Pomodoro is also a way of timing or of measuring the amount of time that we spend on a task, right? So I think it's because that's the amount of time that was needed to boil that type of tomato. I don't know. Please check it out. And we can dedicate 25 minutes to one single task. We can dedicate 45 minutes to one single task and define when we start the 45 minutes or define what we're going to use our time on. But back to IIH Nordic, the company, they started focusing on the Pomodoro technique and said, we want our employees to engage in 11 Pomodoro techniques every Pomodoro time slots every single week. So they requested 11 multiplied by 25 minutes of focused and deep work per week during a 4 days work week, right? So it's something that we also need to train ourselves, both as employees but also as leaders. We have to lead the way, pave the way, be a good role model and example for our employees. If we're constantly distracted, if we're constantly interrupted and interrupting others, we are fostering a culture where interruptions are the norm and deep work is no longer the norm. That costs you as a company time, money, and talent, because employees, good employees, they want to go home feeling like they have achieved something that day. But if we constantly interrupt them and that is the norm, and we do not allow them, we do not foster a culture where you can say no, from 10 to 12 every day, I'm going to be undistractable. I do not want to be cold. I do not want to check my emails. I do not want to be tapped on my shoulder by anyone. I just want to get my work done so I feel good about myself. If that is the culture, like, we want to promote that type of culture. Again, interruptions are something that's coming from the outside and is interrupting us from the task we have at hand, but it's also something that we have increasingly started doing ourselves because we have lost our ability to focus. And focus is a gold mine. Focus is what gets the core task, the core work done. Even if you're in a customer service facing job, you can still find and devise ways and strategies in which you can also solve other types or deeper types of tasks, even though you have to also constantly answer to your phones by taking shifts, by using the times of the day where there's not as many customers calling in. Of course, the need for deep work maybe is different there than it is needed for, let's say, a researcher. But find the pace, find the rhythm that fits you well, and watch out for interruptions. Thank you for today. I'm Raluca Alexandra Stana. I'm your Technostress researcher, guiding you to thrive in a hyper-digitalized world. And I hope that with my videos, I'm going to save you time, money, and talent. See you in the next video, and please share and subscribe.